Hey South Hills, there's been a lot of uncertainty across the globe in the past few years, and 2022 has been no exception. People have been experiencing loss of jobs, inflation has been really hurting many of us, and of course the skyrocketing gas prices has not helped whatsoever. Our church, our financial board, they're very frugal with making sure that we are budgeting the right amount to be able to do ministry, and as a church, we've also experienced a dip in giving compared to where we were last year. We want to make sure that we as a church are not operating out of fear, but operating out of love and trust and faith in God, knowing that He is in control. And while resources are required to bring vision to life, it's not your money that God is after, it's your heart that God is after. Since God is the creator, He knows how the human heart works and He knows how the human mind works. And He knew that we were going to have a battle between our heart and our mind. So for the next 90 days, we're extending a challenge for you to trust God in tithing and in above and beyond. The 90-day challenge is a way of giving tithing a try on a training wheels basis to experiment what the life-changing spiritual disciplines would be if you trust God with your finances. In Malachi 3:10, it says, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse. And then it says, test me in this, try me in this, and see how I will deliver in ways you would have never imagined. I'm so confident that you'll see God radically show up in your life over the next 90 days, that we are willing to offer a refund at the end of this challenge if you disagree. So as we close out the year together, let's each take a moment to consider how we can trust God with our finances. Whatever that step is for you, we believe that God has so much in store for you. One more thing that I think is important for me to share is, I'm never gonna ask the church to do something that I'm not already doing myself. My family and I, we've been tithing from the very beginning. And so what we're gonna do in this 90-day challenge is we're gonna step out in faith with you as well. And we're gonna increase our tithe and we're gonna increase our above and beyond. And so I want you to know that this is a journey that we're all on in a time like this especially, knowing that God is our provider and that God is our priority.
All righty, Family Month. It is one of my favorite series of the year, Family Month, where we get to talk about relationships, talk about how can we be better at loving and caring and doing life with the people that we love and care about, whether that is our immediate family at home or that is the people that we do life with at work or in our community, right? Or even at church, right? And it's super important. God created us to be in relationships. He didn't create us to be loners. That's not God. Wasn't God's plan. He created us to be in relationship, and it matters so much to Him that He wrote in His Word several ways that we can be better and have healthy relationships, right? And so we at Southfields carve out an entire month to teach and talk about having healthy relationships, because the truth of the matter is that we all want happy, healthy relationships, especially with the people that we're closest to, whether that be our spouse, our significant other, our parents, right, our kids. We all want healthy relationships, right? But that's easier said than done, right? Some people talk a good game, but it's not easy to foster and invest and kind of care enough to have healthy relationships. It's going to require us to work at it, put in some effort behind it. In fact, it can feel like putting together a puzzle that's missing the pieces and never quite looks like what it should be, right? We all talked about how people be faking it. They put on their little coffee table the puzzle that hasn't been finished. It's been like 3 years. Why can't you finish it, right? Because I don't have the pieces that are missing, right? And so what would happen, sometimes our families feel like that. Sometimes we know what the big picture would look like if we could have it our way, but there's missing pieces. And so today, when you came in on your chair, we wanted to give you a 100-piece puzzle. so your kids can grab it and make a mess at your house. No, we wanted to put in your hands a family month puzzle for you. Just a reminder that God created us to be in family, to be together. And so we want you to take that home with you. If you have someone that you would also like to gift one, I'm sure there's some extra ones around there. You may take an extra one in there, but this is for you. So let's jump right into week 2 of our series. And today's message is titled, People Are Puzzles. People are puzzles. Families are teams. Let that sit for a little bit. People are puzzles. Families are teams. Can you remember a time, or you remember an instant where someone younger than you, maybe it's your kids or someone just younger than you, is or was enamored, fascinated, right, by someone that they saw had their life together and they did it on their own? Someone that they were like, oh my God, they're successful. They got it all together. They are what's happening. I live in a house where we have 4 girls. That phone is, hey, Dad, did you see so-and-so? They got their stuff together. They're doing great things. And I'm like, who's that? And they are enamored and fascinated by social media and what this person has done and what level they have reached and who they hang out with and all of the accolades and all of the lifestyles of the rich and famous that they have and whatnot. And I'm like, really? Right? Maybe he was an athlete, maybe he was a content creator, an influencer, a company owner, a pop star, an actor, whoever. But when they look at this person, they look and be like, wow, this person did it. They arrived all on their own. Friends, this is who and what our culture is telling us to admire and aspire to be seen as successful, wealthy, confident, and independent. The goal is to be able to say, man, look at all that I have and all that I have done all by myself. I don't need anyone. I'm not responsible. I'm not responsible or obligated to anyone. I go when I want to go. I do what I want to do. I did it my way. And now I can do what I want, where I want, how I want. And everyone thinks I'm just awesome, right? But this isn't just the way our kids think because of social media or YouTube or the internet, right? We kind of, that's our quick scapegoat. This is the great American story. This is the great American success story. It's the narrative that we're sold in a feel-good movie, business books, entrepreneurial magazines, and sports documentaries. Someone has an offbeat dream or an idea or a skill set. No one in their family gets them, and their primary community doesn't really value their interests or abilities. Their core relationships put pressure on them to choose between them and their dreams. So they walk away and launch out on their own. It's tough, but they were able to blaze a trail, their own trail, through the sheer power of their will. They eventually force a situation in which they get a chance to prove themselves, and they do, winning over everyone around them. Their destiny is now undeniable, and although they still don't need anyone, they've built such a big platform for themselves that everyone needs them. That everyone needs them. And the underlying idea in this church is that the people you come from are preventing you from becoming who you really are. The greatest obstacle to your destiny is your family. Have you seen that play out? Have you heard that play out before? I find that incredible. Is this what we are really getting fed in our culture? That you can do all things and you don't need anyone. You don't need, in particular, your family to support you and help you. Ever do this? Watch a, a movie based on a true story and then go Google that person and find out what really, who they really are? I find it interesting that there's always a bunch of people, real people, who helped them get where they wanted to go and become who they really wanted to be. But they were cut out from the movie. That part was cut out from the movie, from the final story. And you realize and be like, wait, this doesn't add up. They never talked about the people that supported and encouraged and helped them and invested in them and urged them on. They almost paint the story as if this person got to where they wanted to get to all on their own. You know what else is interesting is so many of these movies have a moment where the character is sitting alone in the lap of luxury, realizing just how much it cost them to get there. They're successful, but sad. And often what they lost along the way was family, connectivity, intimacy, right? And they're wondering, was it all worth it? Was it all worth it? And if we're honest here today, we too think about that. Was it worth, was everything that I have right now worth climbing over the people that I cared about? Was my success, or is my success worth the people that I pushed away and the relationships that I destroyed along the way? Jesus once warned us in Mark chapter 8. He says, and what do you benefit if you gain the world but lose your own soul? The word soul could be also translated as sense of self or true identity. And as we talked about last week, so much of our identity is found in the context of family. So much of who we are is found in the context of our family, the good, bad, and the ugly. And even though we can all see the downside of these stories that we hear and watch, we still kind of want to live them. We still want to live that successful life. Listen, radical independence is, it's enticing, even though it's a myth. But we want it to be true because it sounds safe. It sounds good. It sounds like this is the best way to live our lives. But you know what's scary? What's scary is knowing that you need someone and wondering if they need you. What's scary is wondering if they even like you or will look out for you or will they hurt you or take advantage of you or even string you along or let you down. Some of us grew up in environments and families where there was so little money or such busyness, so much busyness and stress that we learned that the best way to survive and support the people you cared about was to take care of yourself. Take care of your own self. Minimize your needs and stay out of everyone else's way. Do not be the cause of the friction. Do not be the person that is asking for so much or needing so much, and so you venture off on your own and you leave your family. All of this tries to convince us that you can become the best version of you without a family, that you can do it without your family. And we start to wrestle with what to do with our own story. Should I lean into my imperfect family, or should I leave and learn to be by myself? And we find ourselves in this dilemma, in this conflict of trying to understand, man, should I go this route or should I go this route? Is this an either-or decision? Unfortunately, sometimes it is. But is it always? Could it be possible that you can have both and do both? Church, this isn't just a Western civilization, right? A modern Western dilemma that we find ourselves today. In fact, in ancient East, people in the Bible in the old times found themselves in the same dilemma as well. I want to read you a story, and I'm going to be jumping in and out of the story because just for the sake of time, but it's a story of Isaac and his wife Rebekah and their twin sons, right? Jacob and Esau. And maybe you've read this story before. Maybe this is the first time you hear it. I want to encourage you to go find it and read it through. It's an incredible story, I promise. But I'm going to be jumping in and out of here really quickly, and I'm going to try to give you the gist of the story, but get to the main point here. And so it starts off in chapter 25, and it talks about when the time came to give birth, Rebekah discovered that she had given, she was going to have twins, right? Verse 27 and 28, they start growing up, they start developing here, and they start having their own characteristics and their own traits. And all of a sudden, the family starts playing favorites here. Isaac, the father, starts favoring one son, and Rebekah, she starts favoring the other son. And so Rebekah hears Isaac talking to her son, or their son, who he favors, right? And so it goes on in verse 27. As the boys grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter. He was an outdoorsman, but Jacob had a quiet temperament, preferring to stay at home. Isaac loved Esau because he enjoyed eating the wild game Esau brought home, but Rebekah loved Jacob. So there we have the favorites being played out. The two boys are opposites in so many ways, and neither parent is shy or holding back on who they actually care and love the most. Instead of viewing the boys' differences as something that was potentially complementary to one another, to their family, they pit the boys against each other, dangling their love and their acceptance as the prize. Chapter 27, verses 6 and 10 tells us where Rebekah tries to deceive Isaac. And it says, she says to her son Jacob, "Listen, I overheard your father Isaac say to Esau, 'Bring me some wild game and prepare me a delicious meal. Then I will bless you in the Lord's presence before I die.' Now," she says to her son, "Listen to me. Do exactly as I tell you. Go out to the flocks and bring me 2 fine young goats. I will use them to prepare your father's favorite dish. Then take the food to your father so he can eat and bless you before he dies." This is where the commercial comes in and you're like, "Oh my gosh, on the end of the seat," right? Don't you hate those moments where they just like string you along? You're like, yeah. They talk a bounty, the quicker picker upper, right? Just checking if you're there, and following along. And so now we have a mom and a dad playing favorites, and now they've pitted their sons against each other. This is not about who deserves the right to have the blessing or not. If you read the story, it gets crazy. They're gluing hairy arms, making the other one with hairy arms. Here's the deal. maybe you don't know this, but Isaac is blind. He's not dumb, but he's blind. So he cannot see who's in front of him. And so we're going to continue with this story. And I want you to know, again, that Isaac is blind and not dumb. And so he has to figure out which son is in front of him. So let's go back to the story. So the mindset in this family isn't how we can help and serve one another to be better, to get to a better level. But how can I outdo you? How can I better you? And maybe you've seen that play out in your family. Maybe you've seen that play out in your friendships. Maybe you've seen that play out in your jobs. I love the commercial in Christmas of where they, this guy plants out the lights of the trees and the house across the street plants more lights, and the next person plants even more lights, and it's just a competition. How can I outdo you? How can I better you? And this is what's happening in this family. The son Jacob, right, cheats his father with the help of his mother. So first, the parents pit the boys against each other, and then the boys pit the parents. This is a crazy story, because here's the truth. Kids recreate a version of whatever they witness. In other words, your kids will recreate what you have shown them, what you have demonstrated for them. If you get nasty with someone who cut you or did you wrong, guess what your child will do in life? They're going to do the same exact thing. If you honk the horn because someone is not moving, guess what your kid is going to do later in life? They do what they witness. And so Jacob and Esau are just doing what they've been taught, what they have seen with their own eyes. In church, often the things we like least about our kids are mirror reflections of the dysfunction that we've avoided addressing in ourselves. That's tough. Because here we are blaming our kids for the things that they're doing. And if you really sit down and ask your kid, why'd you do what you do? And he says, oh, because that's what I saw. Because we haven't talked about this issue. And I thought that's the way we should handle it. You see, this is why it's important that we continue to seek to have healthy relationships with the people that we love and care about. Genesis 27:30, as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, right? So Jacob snuck in there. The Bible talks about that Isaac was like, man, that was quick. I just told you to go do what you do. You already got this ready for me. You already hunted it, killed it, skinned it, cut it, and put it on the fire, seasoned it, and got it ready for me. But Isaac cannot see. And he questions the voice. But he says, come closer. Let me feel your hands. Remember, Jacob had put glue. I don't know if he super glued it, licked it, pasted. I don't know what he did, right? To put some animal's hair on his arms. Makes me wonder if Esau has some hairy arms, because I get lost in the story. Sorry. We're going to keep going here. So it's just crazy, right? So as soon as Isaac had finished blessing, so Jacob comes in, he gives him the food. Isaac is convinced this is him, and he blesses him, man. And when he blesses him, he blesses him. He poured all of the blessings on him. There was nothing left. Like there was no blessings for anybody else. He gave it all to Jacob. And as soon as Jacob is leaving, Esau is coming in. It doesn't say it in the Bible. I imagine looking at him and be like, why are you smiling? You don't even know, right? I got this one. And Esau comes in and he's happy, man. He got whatever it was, a goat, a pig, a lamb, whatever it was. He's coming, he's ready, cooked it and got it ready. And he puts it before his father. Verse 35, but Isaac said, your brother was here and he tricked me and he has taken away your blessing. Dun, 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 dun. Commercial break. So now Esau is like, what? He did what? Like that was for me. I can't believe he tried. Like what? I hate him. I hate him. And so the father blames the son for doing what he raised him to do. Sometimes we blame our kids for doing the most logical thing with the tools that we as parents have given them. Verse 41 through 44, Esau vows to kill Jacob. He vows to kill Jacob, and so Jacob starts the 40-yard dash. He runs, he flees from his family. He tries to get away from them, right? Jacob makes the decision to run, to leave his family. He goes off, and he's going to become very successful. His mom is the only one who gets him. He's not going to let his family hold him back. That's his mentality, his approach. And somehow, Jacob winds up living with his uncle Laban. and he falls for his daughter or his cousin, however you want to see it. I want to read into that. That's your business. And the uncle uses this to his advantage. The uncle's not dumb. He's like, oh, Jacob's the one with all the blessings, so I'm going to have it to work my advantage. You need to work. You want to be with my daughter, you need to work it. You need to bring the blessings to the house. All that you are blessed with, bring it here, bring it here. And so he uses his blessings to benefit him and his family. Chapter 30, verse 29 to 30, Jacob replied, right? Jacob's had enough. He's seen the house blessed. He's seen everybody reap the benefits, and Jacob has worked hard. And Jacob says, man, you know how hard I've worked for you and how your flocks and herds have grown under my care? You had little indeed before I came, but your wealth has increased enormously. The Lord has blessed you through everything that I've done. But now, what about me? What can I start providing for my own family? Before you start making your own conclusion, I made my own. And it says Jacob still sees himself as a gift, right, to whatever environment he's in. He is the star of the show, but in reality, all of Jacob's success had been built on the back of others. His mom gave him a leg up. He used family money to get started. He was given his first break by his uncle. He stole his brother's blessings. He had tons of workers and resources at his disposal to pursue his goals. But he definitely wants to know and wants everyone to know that it was mostly because of him, because of what he did, because of how he blessed everyone. Genesis 31, 1 and 2 talks about Laban's sons get irritated. They're tired of seeing Jacob walk around like he's the man. And so they're just upset. They want him out. They want him out of the whole picture. We're going to keep ruling real quick. His cousins want him to leave for the same reasons his father and brother wanted him to leave. He's entitled. He elevates himself above everyone else. He's always scheming. No one trusts him. And all that is important to him is his own personal success. Church, here's the thing. If you leave your family instead of resolving an issue that's there, that's apparent, that's visible to everyone, the issue you never resolved will reappear, and you'll have to run from that relationship as well. If you do not take the time to have a Matthew 18 moment, to bring it to the surface and address who you have the issue with so that you can come out to a mutual agreement and an understanding, you're going to trip on it at a later time. And you're going to continue to trip on it until it gets resolved. Does that make sense? Genesis 31, does that make sense? Okay, I just want to keep it going here. Genesis 31:3, God jumps into the scene and he tells Jacob, hey, you need to get your rear end back home. You need to go fix this. You need to go take care of this. And so God tells him, go home and face your family because you haven't worked through anything. You just keep running from it. So let's get back to the origin of it and face it the way you have to face it. For some of us, we rather do anything else but face the issue that's in front of us, right? Basically, God is promising, man, if you decide you're actually going to do the work of facing your own dysfunction, I want to let you know that I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to stand with you. I'm going to help you through this. But if you're just going to keep running away, going to kind of doing it on your own, then I'm not going to abandon you, but I'm also not going to help you because how you're going about it is the wrong way. Genesis 31, 22 to 23 says, 3 days later, oops, pressed the wrong button. Give me a second here. Okay. 3 days later, Laban was told that Jacob had fled. And so now he's coming after him. He's like, the nerve of this punk. Who said he could leave? right? And so now everything, because he didn't address that. He didn't address the problem he had in his uncle's house. He thought by running away, he could get away with it. And so now they're coming after him. Friends, when we refuse to address our problems, they continue to create the same undesirable outcomes in life. Jacob is entitled, and he cheats his brother, and he chases him and tries to kill him. Just FYI, if everywhere you go, everybody wants to kill you, you got a problem. You're the problem. Just saying, right? If everywhere you go, people don't like you, there's an issue that you haven't addressed. Genesis 32, 6 and 7. Esau is coming for him. His uncle's coming. His cousins are coming. Everybody's coming after him. When you think about it, right, what we all want, we want God to bail us out in these situations. We want God to bail us out of the consequences of our own actions. Right? Be like, God, please don't let this happen to me. Take care of me. You always take care of people. Take care of me. But you didn't own up to your stuff. You didn't own up to your stuff. It could have gone either way, but regardless of what happened, Jacob wasn't going to live in fear anymore. So he decided to confront his brother. He was done blaming everyone but himself. Also, just because the brother didn't kill him in the story, right, doesn't mean that there wasn't a laundry list of things that needed to be worked out between them. But they both decided that it was worth it. It was worth it to restore and repair the relationship. The Bible gives us this incredible piece of wisdom, and it speaks into the fact that together we are better. In Ecclesiastes 4:12, it says, a person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. Three are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. I love that scripture because it speaks to the core of the family. And so I'm going to wrap this up this morning. It speaks to the core of our relationships, to the people that we love and care about the most in life. In this story, both brothers have an epiphany. They realize that they need each other. They balance one another, that they are better together. But because this wasn't the primary message that they were parented with, it took them a lifetime to learn. In my house, because I had 4 girls, we have always stated from the very beginning that our girls are never to touch each other physically. They can't hit each other. They can't slap each other. They can't pull each other's hair. And to this day, we are constantly feeding, we are a team. Doesn't matter how this person, your sister, got you upset. Doesn't matter that she kind of like hissed at you or rolled her eyes at you or doesn't want to let you watch what you want to watch or is copying your style of clothing. Hello. But as in this house, we're never going to hit each other physically or hurt each other physically. We're going to support each other through it all. I don't care if you don't like going to the game. Guess what? You will go to the game and support your sister. Oh, but it's boring. So what? You know what's ironic? That the person said that it was boring had to pick up a sport this year. While the other one was like, she never came. No, you're coming. Even though she never came before, right? And so we're continually supporting this idea, this understanding that together we are better. That no matter where you go, whether you leave home at 17 and come back at 25, or you are across 3,000 miles away at college at this moment, that we're going to cheer for you. Yesterday, Maddie had a game, and she says, we won the first one, lost the second and the third one, but can you see the quads on my legs, Dad? And so I was like, yes, I see them. And Janelle goes, I don't even understand what none of that means. But yay, right? Because that's what we do. And I'm not trying to paint that we're the perfect family, because, man, we are not. The neighbors know that we are a Puerto Rican family in our house. Right? What I'm saying is that I didn't grow up in a healthy environment. But as the more I got to build my relationship with Jesus, the more I understood what God was wanting for me to build and encourage when I would have my own kids. And so I can't help but wonder what their lives might have been like had they been raised differently. Jacob and Esau. What if instead, church, of viewing the members of your family as competitors, you viewed them as teammates? People that are on your side. People that are trying and striving for the same goal. What if instead of working against them, you made it your goal to work with them, to do and be something that you couldn't without them? Wouldn't that be incredible? A New Testament author said it this way in 1 Peter 4:10. It says, God has given each of you a gift from his great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well to serve one another. Do you have the gift of speaking? Then speak as though God himself was speaking through you. Do you have the gift of helping others? Do it with all of the strength and energy that God supplies. Then everything that you do will bring glory to God through Jesus Christ. All glory and power to him forever and ever. In other words, find a way to work as a team. Listen, if you ever witnessed, I've witnessed this firsthand many, many a times. When you pull apart a team, when you pull apart a family, it doesn't work the way it's supposed to work. It doesn't work the way it was intended to work. It's not as effective. And a key component to a winning team is that all the players aren't all identical to one another. In fact, a team in which everyone has the same personality and the same skill set cannot win. Your differences are what makes you strong and gives you the edge. That's why you will never find a baseball team drafting 15 first basemen, because you can't put them all on the field in the same position. And they are not gifted all in the same manner. They don't have the same skill set. That's why a basketball team will never put on the court 5 7-foot centers, because it doesn't work. It may look cool, it may look intimidating, but a lot of big people don't know how to put one foot in another and do things a certain way. The best teams are the ones that can put together players that complement one another. This person does this person does that, this person excels here, this person excels in that. They have a role and they play their role well. And then the New Testament author tells us families are like teams, and teams are like bodies. 1 Corinthians chapter 12 says, but our bodies have many parts, and God has put each part just where he wants it. How strange a body would be if it had only one part. Yes, there are many parts, but only one body. The eye can never say to the hand, I don't need you. The head can't say to the feet, I don't need you. In fact, some parts of the body that seem weakest and least important are actually the most necessary. So imagine, church, imagine this verse speaking into the dynamics in your family. Is it possible that he put every part where that part needs to be, where he wants it to be? Would it be horrible if you were all the same? Everyone thought of the same. Everyone had the same skill set. Everybody had acted and did the same things the same way. What if your different features, characteristics fit together perfectly for a bigger purpose in your household, in your job, in your community? Could the biggest mistake that you've ever made be claiming that you do not need certain members of your own family to succeed, to do life better? Here's what I'm trying to get to this morning. A healthy family celebrates uniqueness without sacrificing unity. A healthy family celebrates the uniqueness of all of its parts, of all of its members, without sacrificing the unity that God purposed you to be together in. Think about it this way. If you erased the person in your family that currently frustrates you the most, what good things would disappear in you because you actually got it from them? If your family church is a team, do you even know what players you're working with? Think about how carefully a coach, a recruiter scouts potential players for their championship teams. It's not be like, oh, let me throw a dart to see who comes on my team. No, they actually do the research. They actually invest a lot of money in investigating background checks. There's more than just statistics. As I tell Noah all the time, right now, even though you're so young, college recruiters will look at your social media and they will try to find out what kind of person you are, not based on your statistics, not based on your skills, but based on who the person you are. What you say, what you write, what you celebrate. Writer Jefferson Bethke talks about something that he and his wife do called building a family scouting report. And in this document, it includes the names of each family member and the answers to the following questions for each one. What's their role on the team? How are they wired and gifted? How or where do they find or need the most support? What activities do we need to prioritize them to flourish? What is the best way to spend one-on-one time with them? And when do they come most alive? I think those are incredible questions, and I think that doing something like this is a great idea for you and your family. But at the very least, take time to do this week. Tell each member of your family what about them is actively making you all better. The people in your house, what are they doing right now that makes you a better team? And once you're done doing it with your family, then do it with your coworkers, your job, do it with your friends, your network of friends, close friends. I wonder how the story would read today, that we read today from Genesis, might be completely different if Jacob and Esau's parents took this approach to raising their family. I wonder how your family story might be completely different if you took this approach with them and realize that you are all a team. that you're all part of the winning team, and that every member in your family plays a role, whether they get on your nerves or not. God purposed them in your family. He's given them to you. He's blessed you with them. Your job is now how to figure out how to use them, love on them, and draw them closer to you. Amen? Amen. Let's pray. Lord Heavenly Father, we bless you, Lord, and we thank you for your word today. We thank you, Lord, that you are building incredible teams, Lord, and that you have called us to not run away, but instead to address the issues and the concerns, Lord, and to forge these relationships with love. And that if we would continue to keep you at the very forefront, if we were to continue to let you lead our families, our relationships, Lord, you in turn will continue to bless us together as a team. Your word says that you would take us from victory to victory to victory, Lord. So, Lord, help us. Help us to see the things that we need to do. Address the things that we need to address. Make the effort to restore our relationships, to acknowledge that we are better together. So that, as your word says, you can get all of the glory and all of the honor. In your name we pray. Amen, amen, amen. I hope that you were enlightened. I hope that you were moved. And I hope that you take the necessary steps to continue to build your team and strengthen your family. Amen.